Boron trembled as the last of her people vanished into the horizon, leaving her alone in the crumbling outpost. The young Gorn female knew her fate, bait for the monstrous predators that threatened to wipe out her species. She couldn't fathom why her leaders had chosen her for this grim sacrifice. The distant howls of the creatures echoed across the alien landscape, growing closer with each passing moment. Boron's scaled fingers flew across the outpost communications panel, sending out a desperate distress call. She knew it was futile. No one was coming to save her. But someone was listening. Sergeant Austin Coleman of the Human Peacekeeping Force stood rigid as the alien transmission crackled through his comm unit. His squad had just touched down on this distant world, tasked with studying the very predators now hunting Boron. Austin's superiors had made their priorities clear. Observation, not intervention. The sergeant's jaw clenched as he listened to Boron's plea. He couldn't stand by and let an innocent die. Orders be damned. "Squad, gear up," he barked, already formulating a plan. "We've got a rescue to mount." As Austin's team prepared, he pored over geological surveys and creature reports. The predators were smart, using pack tactics to overwhelm their prey. The outpost's location was a death trap, surrounded by treacherous canyons and quicksand pits. Requisitioning specialized climbing gear and sonic disruptors, Austin briefed his volunteers. "This is high risk," he warned, "but we're not leaving anyone behind." Meanwhile, Boron's situation deteriorated rapidly. The outpost's energy shields flickered and died, leaving only thin metal walls between her and certain death. She could hear the creature's claws scraping against the outer hull, searching for weaknesses. Austin's team faced their own challenges as they raced across the alien terrain. Their hover transports malfunctioned in the planet's strange magnetic fields, forcing them to proceed on foot. Poisonous spores clouded the air, playing havoc with their filtration systems. As they neared the outpost, the first wave of predators struck. Austin's reflexes saved him as razor-sharp claws sliced through the air where his head had been a moment before. His plasma rifle roared to life, downing the beast in a spray of alien gore. Fighting through the onslaught, Austin reached the outpost's entrance. He found Boron huddled in a corner, her alien features etched with terror and pain. A deep gash ran along her side, oozing a strange blue fluid. "I've got you," Austin assured her, applying a universal med patch to stem the bleeding. Outside, his team's weapons fire grew sporadic. They were running out of ammo. Thinking quickly, Austin accessed the outpost's remaining systems. He triggered a series of explosions in the surrounding area, creating a distraction for the predators. Scooping Boron into his arms, he charged through the chaos towards the extraction point. As their ship broke atmosphere, leaving the nightmarish world behind, Austin's anger simmered. The Gorn leaders had willingly sacrificed one of their own. It was a callousness he couldn't comprehend. Boron stirred in the medical bay, her alien eyes locking onto Austin's. In that moment, he knew his actions would have far-reaching consequences for human-Gorn relations. But as he looked at the life he'd saved, Austin couldn't bring himself to regret a thing. The rescue was only the beginning. As Boron recovered and Austin faced the fallout from his disobedience, both realized their lives had become irrevocably intertwined. And on the horizon loomed larger questions about the future of human-Gorn interactions in this vast, often hostile universe. The sleek human peacekeeping ship sliced through space, its hull still bearing scorch marks from the harrowing rescue mission. Inside the medical bay, Boron's alien eyes fluttered open, focusing on Austin's face. The sergeant's features softened as he placed a reassuring hand on her scaled arm. "We're approaching Starbase Epsilon," Austin explained, gesturing to the view screen. "It's a safe place. We'll get you proper medical attention there." Boron's mandibles clicked, her translator struggling to keep up. "You risk much for me." Austin's reply was cut short as the ship shuddered, docking clamps engaging with a resounding thunk. The door hissed open, revealing a stern-faced officer. "Sergeant Coleman, Colonel Hawkins wants to see you. Now." With a final glance at Boron, Austin squared his shoulders and followed the officer off the ship. The space station's corridors were a blur of activity, but Austin barely noticed. His mind raced, rehearsing explanations and justifications for his actions. The disciplinary hearing was held in a sparse, windowless room. Colonel Hawkins, a battle-hardened veteran with steely gray eyes, sat behind a utilitarian desk. His voice was controlled, but Austin could sense the underlying anger. "Sergeant, you disobeyed direct orders. You risked your entire squad and potentially destabilized our relationship with the Gorn. Explain yourself." Austin stood at attention, his voice steady. "Sir, I couldn't stand by and let an innocent die. Our mission is peacekeeping. That means protecting all sentient life, not just observing it." Hawkins leaned forward, his weathered face creasing. "Your bravery isn't in question, Coleman. But this isn't a goddamn hero story. There are protocols, diplomatic considerations. Your actions have consequences beyond just this rescue." As the colonel continued his reprimand, Austin's thoughts drifted to Boron. He snapped back to attention when Hawkins mentioned her name. "The Gorn female is being treated in our medical bay. Given your unique position in this situation, I'm assigning you to assist with her care and act as liaison. But make no mistake, this doesn't mean you're off the hook. Dismissed." Austin saluted crisply and exited, his steps quickening as he made his way to the medical bay. The sterile white room was a hive of activity, with human medical staff huddled around Boren's bed, their faces etched with confusion. Dr. Elena Martinez, the lead xenobiologist, looked up as Austin entered. Her dark eyes were bright with both frustration and fascination. "Sergeant, thank goodness. We're having trouble stabilizing her vitals. Gorn physiology is, well, it's unlike anything we've seen." Austin approached the bed, noting the strange blue fluid seeping through Boron's bandages. He activated his translator and leaned close. "Boron, can you tell the doctor what hurts? What do you need?" Over the next few hours, Austin acted as a bridge between Boron and the medical team. Through a combination of gestures, guttural Gorn words, and the imperfect translator, they pieced together a treatment plan. Austin learned that Gorn blood contained copper instead of iron, explaining its blue color. Their metabolism operated at a much slower rate than humans, which had led to initial misreadings of Boron's vital signs. As Boron's condition stabilized, Austin found himself spending more time by her bedside. He shared stories of Earth, its varied landscapes, its teeming cities, its complex history. Boron listened with rapt attention, her alien features softening with curiosity. In turn, Boron spoke of her world. Austin learned of the harsh conditions that had shaped Gorn society, of their rigid hierarchies based on physical prowess. He began to understand why Boron had been chosen as bait, her smaller stature marking her as expendable in the eyes of her leaders. Their growing bond was interrupted by the arrival of Colonel Hawkins, his face grim. "We've received a transmission from the Gorn High Command. They're demanding we return Boron immediately." Austin's fist clenched. "Sir, we can't—" Hawkins held up a hand. "They're claiming she's a criminal who fled justice. It's obvious bullshit, but it complicates things. A Gorn delegation is en route to negotiate her return." As the colonel left, Austin's mind raced. He knew returning Boron to her people would be a death sentence. The thought of her facing execution for the crime of survival made his blood boil. In that moment, Austin made a decision. He would get Boron off this station, no matter the consequences. He activated his comm unit, contacting the squad mates who had stood by him during the rescue. Then he sought out Dr. Martinez, whose empathy for Boron had been evident from the start. Together, they formulated a plan. A supply ship was scheduled to depart for a distant human colony in 3 days. If they could smuggle Boron aboard, she would be beyond the reach of both human bureaucracy and Gorn retribution. As Austin finalized the details, alarms blared throughout the station. A Gorn warship had arrived, earlier than expected. Leading the delegation was Commander Zax, a notorious hardliner known for his brutality and hatred of other species. Austin rushed to Boron's side, his heart pounding. Time was running out. He took her scaled hand in his, their eyes meeting in a moment of silent understanding. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Austin's mind raced as he formulated a plan. The station's alarms blared, signaling the arrival of the Gorn warship. He knew they had precious little time before Commander Zax and his delegation would demand Boron's immediate surrender. "We need to move," Austin said, his voice low and urgent. He activated his comm unit, contacting Corporal Rodriguez. "Rodriguez, initiate Operation Diversion. Now." "Copy that, Sarge," came the crisp reply. Austin turned to Dr. Martinez, who had just finished administering a final dose of medication to Boron. "Are we ready?" The xenobiologist nodded, her dark eyes reflecting a mix of purpose and fear. "As ready as we'll ever be." Boron struggled to sit up, her scaled skin glistening under the harsh medical bay lights. "I come with you?" "Yes," Austin assured her, gently helping her to her feet. "We're getting you out of here." The trio made their way to a maintenance hatch near the back of the medical bay. Austin punched in an access code, revealing a narrow passage bathed in dim red emergency lighting. As they entered the tunnel, the station shuddered. In the distance, they heard the muffled sound of an explosion. "Rodriguez's diversion," Austin muttered. "Let's hope it buys us enough time." They moved swiftly through the maintenance tunnels, Austin leading the way with Boron sandwiched between him and Dr. Martinez. The passage twisted and turned, the metal walls pressing in around them. Boron's labored breathing echoed in the confined space. Suddenly, Austin held up a fist, signaling them to stop. Ahead, an airlock door blinked an angry red. "Malfunction!" he growled, examining the control panel. "We'll have to manually override." As Austin worked on bypassing the airlock security protocols, Dr. Martinez tended to Boron. The Gorn female leaned heavily against the wall, her alien features contorted in discomfort. "How are you holding up?" the doctor asked softly, checking Boron's vital signs with a handheld scanner. "I manage," Boron clicked, her translator struggling to convey the complexity of her emotions. "Grateful. For all this." The airlock hissed open, and Austin ushered them through. They had barely made it to the other side when the sound of approaching footsteps echoed down the corridor. Austin pulled them into a shadowy alcove, his hand instinctively moving to his sidearm. A patrol of station security officers marched past, their boots clanging on the metal grating. Austin held his breath, feeling Boron's alien form pressed against him in the tight space. Once the patrol had passed, they continued their journey through the labyrinthine tunnels. Meanwhile, in the station's command center, Colonel Hawkins frowned at the security feeds. The explosion in the hangar bay had been contained, but something felt off. His eyes narrowed as he scanned the monitors, noting Austin's conspicuous absence. "Where the hell is Sergeant Coleman?" he barked. A junior officer piped up. "Sir, he's not responding to comm calls. Last seen in the medical bay with the Gorn female." Hawkins' eyes sharp. "Initiate a station-wide search. Find them. Now." As Austin's team neared their destination, the station's internal communication system crackled to life. "Attention all personnel. Be on the lookout for Sergeant Austin Coleman and the Gorn female. They are to be detained immediately. This is a direct order from Colonel Hawkins." Austin cursed under his breath. Their window of opportunity was rapidly closing. They rounded a corner and found themselves facing the entrance to the cargo bay. Through the reinforced windows, Austin could see their ticket to freedom, a small, nondescript cargo ship primed for departure. But between them and their escape route stood a squad of station security officers, weapons drawn. And approaching from the opposite direction, Austin heard the distinctive heavy footfalls of Gorn soldiers. "Change of plans," Austin said, his mind racing. He turned to Dr. Martinez and Boron. "You two, go with Rodriguez. He'll get you to the ship." Boron's alien eyes widened, her translator clicking rapidly. "You not come?" Austin placed a hand on her scaled shoulder, feeling the alien warmth beneath his palm. "I'll buy you time. Get to safety, Boron. That's an order." For a moment, Boron hesitated. In her alien features, Austin saw a complexity of emotion he hadn't thought possible. But there was no time for lengthy goodbyes. With a final nod to Dr. Martinez, Austin stepped out into the corridor, drawing the attention of both the human security forces and the approaching Gorn. "Hey!" he shouted, firing his weapon into the air. "You want me? Come and get me!" As chaos erupted in the corridor, Dr. Martinez guided Boron towards the cargo ship. Corporal Rodriguez met them at the airlock, his face streaked with grease and sweat. "Where's the Sarge?" he asked, helping them aboard. "Buying us time," Dr. Martinez replied grimly. "We need to launch, now." As Rodriguez prepped the ship for emergency departure, Boron looked back through the airlock. She caught a final glimpse of Austin, engaged in hand-to-hand combat with a massive Gorn soldier, Commander Zax himself. The cargo ship's engines roared to life, drowning out the sounds of the battle. As they lifted off, Boron pressed a scaled hand against the viewport, watching Austin's figure grow smaller until it disappeared from view. In the cargo bay, Austin felt the rush of air as the ship launched. He allowed himself a small smile, even as Commander Zax's powerful fist connected with his jaw. He had accomplished his mission. Boron was safe. The fight ended abruptly as station security swarmed the area. Austin found himself face-to-face with Colonel Hawkins, whose expression was a mixture of fury and disbelief. "Sergeant Coleman," Hawkins said, his voice cold, "you are hereby under arrest for insubordination, aiding and abetting a fugitive, and a list of charges I'm sure will only grow longer. Do you have anything to say for yourself?" Austin straightened, tasting blood in his mouth. He looked past the colonel, out the viewport where Boron's ship had vanished into the stars. "No regrets, sir," he said firmly. As security officers cuffed him and led him away, Austin caught sight of Commander Zax. The Gorn's alien face was contorted with rage, mandibles clicking furiously. Their eyes met, and Austin knew this was not nearly finished. The station's brig doors hissed shut behind Austin, leaving him alone with his thoughts and the weight of his actions. Somewhere out there, Boron was free, hurtling towards an uncertain future, and here he remained, facing the consequences of his choice, wondering what challenges lay ahead for both of them in this vast, complicated universe. Austin closed his eyes, leaning back against the cold metal wall of his cell. He had no way of knowing if Boron and the others had made it safely away from the station, but he clung to the hope that his sacrifice had given them a fighting chance. Light years away, the battered cargo ship carrying Boron, Dr. Martinez, and Corporal Rodriguez streaked through the inky void of space. The vessel shuddered, its outdated systems groaning under the strain of their hasty departure. "Status report," Dr. Martinez called out, her fingers flying over a console as she attempted to stabilize their life support systems. Rodriguez's voice crackled over the ship's internal speakers. "We're holding together, but just barely. The hyperdrive's making some nasty noises I don't like." Boron stood nearby, her alien eyes fixed on the swirling patterns of faster-than-light travel visible through the viewport. She turned to Dr. Martinez, her translator clicking softly. Help? Learn systems?" The doctor nodded, gesturing for Boron to join her at the console. "Of course! We could use all the help we can get." Over the next several days, Boron threw herself into learning the intricacies of human technology. Her alien mind, so adept at complex pattern recognition, proved to be an asset as they worked to keep the ship's systems operational. Dr. Martinez found herself impressed by Boron's quick grasp of concepts that would have taken most humans weeks to master. As they worked side by side, Dr. Martinez shared stories of Earth, its diverse ecosystems, its sprawling cities, and the rich tapestry of human cultures. Boron listened with rapt attention, her curiosity about human society growing with each passing hour. "Your world," Boron said, her translator struggling to convey the depth of her fascination. "So much variety, different from Gorn." Dr. Martinez smiled, passing Boron a specialized tool to help recalibrate a malfunctioning sensor array. "Earth has its problems, but we've learned a lot about coexistence over the centuries. I hope you'll get to see it someday." Their conversation was interrupted by a loud bang from deep within the ship, followed by a series of alarms. Rodriguez's voice came over the comms, tight with tension. "We've got a problem. The hyperdrive's offline. We're dropping out of FTL." The ship lurched violently as it decelerated, throwing Dr. Martinez and Boron off balance. As they regained their footing, the swirling patterns outside the viewport commitment into a sea of stars. "Where are we?" Dr. Martinez asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Rodriguez's reply was grim. Middle of nowhere, no charted systems nearby. We're running on auxiliary power, and our long-range comms are shot. As the reality of their situation sank in, Boron placed a scaled hand on Dr. Martinez's shoulder. The gesture, so human in its intent, spoke volumes about how far they'd come in such a short time. "We survive," Boron said firmly. "Together." Meanwhile, back on the space station, Austin found himself standing before a hastily assembled military tribunal. Colonel Hawkins sat at the center of the panel, his face an unreadable mask. Flanking him were two other high-ranking officers, their expressions equally stern. "Sergeant Austin Coleman," Colonel Hawkins began, his voice echoing in the small chamber. "You stand accused of insubordination, aiding and abetting a fugitive, and compromising human-Gorn relations. How do you plead?" Austin stood tall, his gaze unwavering. "Not guilty, sir. I acted in accordance with my conscience and the higher principles of human rights." A low murmur rippled through the assembled personnel. From the corner of his eye, Austin caught sight of Commander Zax, the Gorn military leader. The alien's mandibles clicked furiously, his posture radiating barely suppressed rage. As the tribunal proceeded, it became clear that this was no ordinary military hearing. The questions posed to Austin probed not just the facts of his actions, but the moral and ethical implications as well. Colonel Hawkins, despite his outward sternness, seemed to be struggling with the complexity of the situation. "Sergeant Coleman," Hawkins said, leaning forward, "did you consider the potential diplomatic fallout of your actions? The risk to the fragile peace between our species?" Austin took a deep breath before responding. "Sir, I considered the immediate threat to an innocent life. Boron was abandoned by her own people, used as bait in a cruel game. Sending her back would have been tantamount to a death sentence. I couldn't stand by and let that happen." Commander Zax surged to his feet, his translator barely keeping up with his furious clicks and hisses. "This human lies. The female was a criminal, a threat to Gorn society. Your interference has undermined the authority of the Gorn High Command." Colonel Hawkins held up a hand, silencing the Gorn commander. "Your objection is noted, Commander Zax. However, this tribunal will hear all relevant testimony before reaching a decision." As the proceedings continued, news of Austin's trial began to spread beyond the confines of the space station. On Earth, media outlets picked up the story, framing it as a test case for human-alien relations. Public opinion quickly polarized, with some hailing Austin as a hero who stood up for universal rights, while others condemned him as a reckless soldier who had jeopardized interspecies diplomacy. In the halls of power, the case caught the attention of Senator Eliza Thornton, a longtime advocate for cooperative alien relations. As she watched footage of the trial, her keen political mind recognized the far-reaching implications of the situation. "This isn't just about one soldier and one alien," she murmured to her aide. "This case could reshape our entire approach to interspecies law and ethics." With a determined nod, she made her decision. "Prepare my shuttle. We're going to that space station." Back on the stranded cargo ship, Boron, Dr. Martinez, and Corporal Rodriguez worked tirelessly to restore their systems. Their supplies were running low, and the strain of their situation was beginning to show. As Dr. Martinez attempted to coax more power from their failing generators, a light on the communications console began to blink. "We're picking up a signal," Rodriguez called out, his fingers dancing over the controls. "It's weak, but it's definitely there. Some kind of distress beacon." Dr. Martinez frowned, weighing their options. "We're in no shape to attempt a rescue. On the other hand, we could use some help ourselves." Boron stepped forward, her alien features set in a determined expression. "We go. Help others. Maybe find help for us." After a moment's hesitation, Dr. Martinez nodded. "All right. Rodriguez, set a course for that signal. Let's hope we're not flying into something worse than what we left behind." As their battered ship limped towards the source of the distress call, none of them could have imagined the pivotal role this decision would play in the unfolding drama, not just for them, but for Austin, the Gorn, and the future of human-alien relations. As their battered ship limped towards the source of the distress call, the communications console suddenly lit up with an incoming transmission. Rodriguez's eyes widened as he decrypted the message. "It's from Earth," he announced, his voice a mix of surprise and apprehension. "Senator Eliza Thornton." Dr. Martinez and Boron gathered around the console as Rodriguez played the encrypted message. Senator Thornton's holographic image flickered to life, her expression grave. "Dr. Martinez, Corporal Rodriguez, and Boron," she began, nodding to each of them. "I hope this message finds you safe. Sergeant Coleman's trial has become a flashpoint for human-alien relations. The situation on the station is volatile, and I fear for Austin's safety." Boron's alien features tightened, her translator clicking rapidly as she processed the news. The senator continued, "I've arranged sanctuary for you on Nova Terra. Governor Liam Cook is expecting your arrival. He can provide protection and potentially help clear Austin's name. Be cautious. There are factions within our own military who oppose alien cooperation." As the message ended, silence fell over the ship's bridge. Dr. Martinez was the first to speak. "Nova Terra, it's our best shot. We can't keep drifting out here forever." Rodriguez nodded, already plotting a new course. "It'll push our hyperdrive to the limit, but I think we can make it." Boron placed a scaled hand on the console, her alien eyes reflecting the starlight. "Austin, we help him by going there?" "Yes," Dr. Martinez assured her. "If we can prove your case, it could change everything for Austin and for human-alien relations." The cargo ship's engines groaned as Rodriguez pushed them to their limits, the stars blurring into streaks of light as they entered hyperspace. As they traveled, Dr. Martinez and Boron pored over the ship's databanks, gathering every scrap of information they could about Nova Terra and the ongoing political situation. Days later, as they approached Nova Terra's system, alarms blared throughout the ship. Rodriguez's voice crackled over the intercom, tight with tension. "Multiple ships detected on an intercept course. It's a mixed fleet. Gorn warships and human vessels." Dr. Martinez's blood ran cold. "How did they find us?" Before anyone could respond, the ship shuddered violently, dropping out of hyperspace. Through the viewport, they could see Nova Terra looming large, its surface a swirl of blue oceans and green land masses. Between them and the planet, a menacing array of ships hung in space. "Nova Terra's planetary defenses are activating," Rodriguez reported, his fingers flying over the controls. "They're creating a protective barrier around the planet." As the colony's defense systems engaged, a standoff ensued. The Gorn human fleet held position just beyond the planet's defensive perimeter, their weapons primed but not firing. "We're being hailed," Rodriguez announced. "It's from the surface. Governor Cook." The holographic image of a stern-faced man appeared on the bridge. "This is Governor Liam Cook of Nova Terra. Identify yourselves immediately." Dr. Martinez stepped forward. "Governor, I'm Dr. Elena Martinez. We were sent by Senator Thornton. We have a Gorn refugee seeking asylum." Cook's expression softened slightly. "Understood, Doctor. We've been expecting you. Land at these coordinates immediately. We'll provide cover fire if necessary." As Rodriguez guided their ship towards the planet's surface, the tension in space finally broke. The Gorn human fleet opened fire on Nova Terra's shields, the darkness of space lit up by energy weapons and missile trails. Their descent through the atmosphere was rough, the ship bucking and shaking as Rodriguez fought to keep them stable. As they broke through the cloud cover, they saw Nova Terra's capital spread out below them, a gleaming metropolis of towering spires and verdant parks. They touched down on a landing pad adjacent to a massive fortified structure. As soon as the ship's ramp lowered, they were greeted by a contingent of armed guards led by Governor Cook himself. "Quickly," Cook urged, ushering them inside as the ground trembled from distant impacts on the planetary shield. "We need to get you to safety." As they hurried through the building's corridors, Boron's alien eyes widened in surprise. All around them were beings of various species. Humans, yes, but also other alien races she had never encountered before. Some even appeared to be Gorn. Governor Cook noticed her reaction. "Nova Terra has become a sanctuary for those seeking a new life, free from persecution, including some of your own people, Boron." They entered a large command center, its walls lined with screens displaying the ongoing space battle. Governor Cook turned to face them, his expression grim. "I'm afraid your arrival has coincided with a larger conflict," he explained. "The Gorn High Command has launched an all-out assault, not just here, but at the space station where Sergeant Coleman is being held." Dr. Martinez gasped. "Austin!" Cook nodded solemnly. "The situation is dire, but not hopeless. We have allies, both human and alien, rallying to our cause. Now we need your help, your knowledge, your experiences. They could be the key to turning the tide." Boron stepped forward, her translator clicking as she spoke. "I help. No Gorn tactics can assist defense." Rodriguez straightened, his military training kicking in. "I'm a pilot. Put me in a fighter, and I'll do what I can to protect this planet." Dr. Martinez looked around the room, taking in the diverse array of beings working together. "And I'll coordinate with your medical teams. We've picked up a few tricks for treating different species on our journey." Governor Cook smiled for the first time since their arrival. "Excellent. Let's get to work. The fate of not just Novaterra, but of human-alien relations throughout the galaxy may well rest on what happens here today." As alarms blared and the command center erupted into a flurry of activity, Boron found herself at a tactical display, her alien mind already analyzing Gorn fleet movements. She felt a mix of emotions, concern for Austin, commitment to protect her new allies, and a growing hope that perhaps, just perhaps, this conflict could lead to a new understanding between species. The battle for Novaterra had begun, and with it, the possibility of a new future for all sentient beings in the galaxy. The battle for Novaterra raged on, the planet's defenses holding firm against the combined Gorn-human fleet. In the command center, Boron's tactical insights proved invaluable, her knowledge of Gorn strategy allowing the defenders to anticipate and counter their moves. Rodriguez, piloting a Novaterran fighter, led a squadron in daring hit-and-run attacks that disrupted the enemy's formation. As the conflict reached its peak, a brilliant flash of light erupted in the midst of the attacking fleet. A massive human battleship emerged from hyperspace, its guns blazing. At its helm stood Sergeant Austin Coleman, his face set with relentless drive as he directed the captured Gorn battlecruiser's fire against its former allies. The tide of battle turned swiftly. Caught between the newcomers and Novaterra's defenses, the attacking fleet broke apart. Some ships surrendered, others fled, while a few fought to the bitter end. Within hours, the space around Novaterra was clear of hostiles, littered only with debris and disabled vessels. On the planet's surface, cheers erupted as news of the victory spread. Governor Cook's voice rang out over the public address system. "The attack has been repelled. Novaterra stands strong, thanks to the bravery of our defenders and the timely arrival of reinforcements." As the adrenaline of battle faded, the focus shifted to the aftermath. Shuttles ferried between the orbiting ships and the planet's surface, bringing in the wounded and prisoners. Among them was Commander Zax, his once proud posture now slumped in defeat. Austin stepped off his shuttle, his eyes scanning the crowded landing pad. When he spotted Boron, relief washed over his face. He strode towards her, ignoring the chaos around them. "You're safe," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Boron's alien features shifted in what Austin had come to recognize as a smile. "As are you. Your arrival was timely." Their reunion was cut short as Colonel Hawkins approached, flanked by Senator Thornton. "Sergeant Coleman," Hawkins began, his tone formal but tinged with respect, "your actions today were unorthodox but effective. We have much to discuss." In the days that followed, Novaterra became a hub of activity. The human fleet, now in control of both the station and the planet, worked to stabilize the situation. Austin, along with Colonel Hawkins and Senator Thornton, oversaw the transfer of Gorn prisoners to a secure facility. During the processing of prisoners, Austin noticed something odd about the data they were collecting. He pulled Dr. Martinez aside, speaking in a low voice. "These orders, they're not just from Commander Zax. Look at the encryption. This goes straight to the top of the Gorn hierarchy." Dr. Martinez's eyes widened as she examined the data. "You're right. This attack, it wasn't just about Boron. The Gorn leadership sees our entire alliance with alien refugees as a threat. As this information came to light, the political landscape shifted. Senator Thornton wasted no time in using this intelligence to rally support for their cause. Public opinion on Earth swung decisively in favor of Austin and Bourne's actions. On Nova Terra, Bourne found herself thrust into a new role. Governor Cook, recognizing her unique perspective, appointed her as an official liaison between the human colony and the alien refugees. She threw herself into the work, helping to integrate the newly arrived Gorn dissidents with the existing population. One afternoon, as Bourne was mediating a dispute between a group of humans and Gorn, Austin found her in a crowded meeting room. He waited patiently until she finished, watching her deftly navigate the complex cultural landscape. As the room cleared, Austin approached. "You're good at this," he said, genuine admiration in his voice. Boron's translator clicked softly. "It is fulfilling work, but I find myself thinking of you often." Austin felt a warmth spread through his chest. "I've been offered a promotion," he said, "a position in Earth's diplomatic corps." Boron's alien eyes seemed to dim slightly. "You will be leaving then?" Austin shook his head. "I've requested a temporary assignment here on Nova Terra. Officially, it's to help with the integration of Gorn refugees. Unofficially," he trailed off, reaching out to take Boron's scaled hand in his own. Their moment was interrupted by an urgent message from the command center. Governor Cook's voice crackled over the comm system. "All senior personnel report immediately. Long-range sensors have detected something unprecedented." Austin and Boron exchanged a look of concern before hurrying to the command center. As they entered, they found the room abuzz with activity. On the main display, a massive fleet of unknown ships was visible, their design unlike anything they had ever seen. Governor Cook turned to address the room, his face grave. "Ladies and gentlemen, we may be facing a threat beyond anything we've encountered before. The fate of not just Nova Terra, but all known species, may hang in the balance." As the implications of this new development sank in, Austin felt Boron's hand slip into his. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. As the implications of this new development sank in, Austin felt Boron's hand slip into his. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Governor Cook's voice cut through the tension in the command center. "We need to mobilize our defenses immediately. Sergeant Coleman, I want you to coordinate our military response. Boron, your expertise in alien tactics will be invaluable." Austin nodded, his military training kicking in. "Understood, sir. We'll need to gather all available data on these unknown ships." As they worked tirelessly over the next few hours, analyzing sensor readings and formulating defensive strategies, the unknown fleet entered the outer reaches of Nova Terra's solar system. Governor Cook, his face etched with concern, declared a state of emergency. "All non-essential personnel are to evacuate to designated shelters," Cook announced over the colony-wide communication system. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." Austin and Boron found themselves working side by side, their shared experiences strengthening their bond as they faced this new crisis. Boron's alien eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical displays. "These ships," she clicked, her translator conveying a mix of curiosity and concern. "Their formation is unlike any I have encountered." Austin leaned in, his shoulder brushing against Boron's scaled arm. "You're right, it's not aggressive, but it's not entirely peaceful either. It's almost like they're protecting something." Their speculation was cut short as alarms blared throughout the command center. A junior officer called out, "Sir, the fleet has suddenly accelerated. They'll reach Nova Terra's orbit in minutes." The room erupted into controlled chaos as personnel rushed to battle stations. Austin's hand instinctively moved to his sidearm, while Boron's claws flexed, ready for action. As the alien ships approached, a message crackled through the communication systems. To everyone's surprise, it came through in multiple languages, including human dialects and Gorn clicks. "People of Nova Terra," a melodious voice resonated through the speakers. "We are the Zarkali. We come seeking refuge and alliance. Our homeworld is no more, and we stand on the brink of extinction. We mean you no harm." Governor Cook exchanged glances with Austin and Boron. Verify that message, he ordered, and prepare a secure meeting room. We need to talk to these Zarkali face-to-face. Within the hour, Austin found himself in a heavily guarded diplomatic chamber, standing protectively near Boran as Governor Cook greeted the Zarkali representatives. The aliens were tall, with iridescent skin and large expressive eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of millennia. Ambassador Zilna, the Zarkali leader, bowed gracefully. We thank you for granting us this audience. Our tale is one of tragedy, but also of hope. As Zilna spoke, holographic images flickered to life, showing the destruction of a beautiful world. A cosmic calamity, unforeseen and unstoppable, consumed our home. We managed to save much of our population and knowledge, but we are now a people adrift. Governor Cook listened intently, his political mind already calculating the implications. Your technology, your knowledge, they could greatly benefit our world, our alliance. Zilna nodded. Indeed, we offer this freely in exchange for a new home among the stars. As the negotiations progressed, Austin couldn't shake a feeling of unease. He leaned close to Boran, whispering, "Something's not right. It's too quiet out there." Boran's alien senses, more attuned to subtle changes, picked up on his concern. Agreed. We should... Their conversation was cut short by a violent tremor that shook the building. Alarms blared as Governor Cook's communicator crackled to life. "Sir," a frantic voice called out, "we're under attack. It's our own ships." Austin's blood ran cold as he realized what was happening. "The hardliners," he growled. "They're trying to sabotage the talks." Without hesitation, Austin sprang into action. "Governor, get the Zarkali to safety. Boran, with me. We need to stop this attack before it spirals into full-scale war." As they raced to the command center, the scene outside was chaos. Rogue human warships were firing on the Zarkali fleet, their weapons leaving streaks of light across the sky. Austin quickly assessed the situation. "Boran, I need you on tactical. Your skills are our best chance at outmaneuvering these bastards." Boran nodded, her claws flying over the control panels as she coordinated Novaterra's defense forces. Austin watched in awe as she deftly predicted and countered the rogue ship's movements, her actions saving countless Zarkali lives. "I'm going up there," Austin declared, strapping on his combat gear. "We need to board the lead ship and stop this at the source." As Austin led a team of elite soldiers towards the rogue flagship, the battle around them intensified. Laser fire and explosions lit up the space around Novaterra, the peaceful planet now the center of a war it never wanted. Boarding the enemy vessel was a harrowing experience. Austin fought his way through narrow corridors, his team working in perfect synchronization to overcome the rogue forces. As they neared the bridge, Austin's comm unit crackled. "Austin," Boran's voice came through, tense but controlled. "New ships entering the system. It's the Gorn." Austin's heart raced as he processed this information. Had the Gorn come to take advantage of the chaos? But as he watched through a viewport, he saw the Gorn ships engaging the rogue human vessels, providing cover for the Zarkali. With rekindled determination, Austin breached the bridge of the rogue flagship. In a fierce but brief firefight, he and his team subdued the hardline leaders, ending the attack as quickly as it had begun. As the dust settled and the combined forces of Novaterra, the Gorn, and the Zarkali secured the area, Austin returned to the planet's surface. He found Boran waiting for him, her alien features showing what he had learned to recognize as relief. "You're unharmed," she clicked, her translator conveying the emotion in her voice. Austin smiled, reaching out to take her scaled hand in his. "Thanks to your tactical genius. We make a good team." As they stood together, watching the Zarkali ships settle into orbit around Novaterra, Austin knew that this was just the beginning. The battle was won, but the real challenge lay ahead, forging a lasting peace between humans, Gorn, and their new Zarkali allies. Governor Cook approached them, his face showing both exhaustion and hope. "Well done, both of you. But we have much work ahead of us. The Zarkali need a home, and we need to prove that this alliance can work." Austin nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "What did you have in mind, sir?" Cook's eyes gleamed with ambition. "There's an uninhabited planet nearby. With the Zarkali's technology and our combined resources, we could terraform it, create a new world, a symbol of our cooperation." As Cook outlined his bold plan, Austin felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. This project would change the face of the galaxy, but it would also face enormous challenges. He glanced at Boron, seeing his own tenacity reflected in her alien eyes. Together, they would build this new future. But as they prepared to embark on this historic endeavor, neither Austin nor Boron could shake the feeling that darker forces were gathering, forces that would stop at nothing to tear apart the fragile alliance they had fought so hard to forge. Austin and Boron exchanged a determined glance, their willpower hardened by the challenges they had already overcome together. As the months passed, the ambitious terraforming project took shape. The uninhabited planet, once a barren rock, slowly transformed into a lush world teeming with potential. Human ingenuity, Gorn resilience, and Zarkali technology combined to create miracles of planetary engineering. Austin and Boron found themselves at the forefront of this monumental effort, their unique partnership a symbol of the cooperation between species. They spent long hours coordinating teams, solving complex logistical problems, and navigating the delicate balance of interspecies politics. One evening, as they reviewed progress reports in their shared quarters, an urgent message flashed across their screens. Governor Cook's face appeared, his expression grave. "We have a situation," he said without preamble. "There have been reports of sabotage on the new planet. I need you two to lead a joint security team to investigate." Austin straightened, his military training kicking in. "Understood, sir. We'll assemble a team immediately." Within hours, Austin and Boron were leading a diverse group of human, Gorn, and Zarkali specialists towards the terraformed world. As their shuttle descended through the newly formed atmosphere, Austin couldn't help but marvel at the transformation. Verdant forests and sparkling lakes stretched as far as the eye could see, a testament to what they had achieved together. But the beauty was marred by the urgency of their mission. As they touched down, Boron's alien senses were on high alert, her scaled skin rippling with tension. "There," she clicked, pointing towards a distant ridge. "I detect unusual energy signatures." Austin nodded, trusting her instincts implicitly. They moved out, the team spreading into a practice formation. As they crested the ridge, a hidden entrance revealed itself, seamlessly blended into the landscape. "Clever," Austin muttered, admiring the craftsmanship despite himself. "Must be using adaptive camouflage tech." They approached cautiously, disabling security measures with a combination of Zarkali technology and Gorn strength. As the door slid open, they were met with a chilling sight. Row upon row of advanced weapons lined the walls, along with crates of explosives potent enough to level entire cities. "By the stars," breathed Zar, their Zarkali tech expert. "This is far worse than we imagined." Austin's mind raced, piecing together the implications. This isn't just sabotage. They're planning a full-scale attack on Novaterra. Before they could process this revelation, alarms blared. They had triggered a hidden security system. Within seconds, armed figures poured into the room, their faces hidden behind masks that obscured their species. "Ambush!" Austin shouted, diving for cover as energy blasts scorched the air around them. The room erupted into chaos. Austin and Boron moved as one, their years of partnership evident in every fluid motion. Austin's tactical mind guided their defensive maneuvers, while Boron's raw strength and agility kept the attackers at bay. Across the room, their team fought valiantly. The Zarkali used their advanced tech to create energy shields, while the Gorn engaged in close-quarters combat, their natural armor deflecting blows that would have felled a human. Austin found himself back-to-back with Boron, their bodies in perfect sync as they fended off waves of attackers. He could hear her rapid clicks, her own version of adrenaline-fueled battle cries. "We need to get this intel back to Novaterra," Austin called out over the din of battle. "It's our only chance to stop their plan." Boron nodded, her alien eyes scanning the room for an escape route. "There," she clicked, indicating a narrow corridor partially hidden by fallen debris. Austin relayed the plan to their team through hand signals and their shared comm link. They began a fighting retreat, covering each other as they inched towards the exit. Just as they neared the corridor, a stray blast caught Austin in the side. He stumbled, pain searing through his body. Without hesitation, Boron scooped him up, cradling him with one arm, while she continued to return fire with the other. "I've got you," her translator conveyed, the mechanical voice somehow conveying depths of emotion. They pushed through the corridor, the sounds of pursuit close behind. Austin, fighting through the haze of pain, coordinated their escape route using the building schematics they had downloaded earlier. As they emerged into the open air, their extraction shuttle swooped in, providing covering fire. The team scrambled aboard, Boron gently laying Austin down as the medical unit rushed to attend to his wound. "We're not clear yet," Zar warned from the pilot's seat. "Enemy reinforcements incoming." Austin, his voice weak but determined, looked to their Zarkali team members. "We need a diversion. Your tech is our best shot." The Zarkali shared a look of understanding. Without a word, they moved to the shuttle's exit ramp. "Wait," Austin called out, realizing their intention. "There has to be another way." Zar shook his head, a sad smile on his alien features. "This is our choice, friend, for the Alliance, for our new home." Before anyone could protest further, the Zarkali leapt from the shuttle. Their bodies glowed with an otherworldly light as they engaged their most advanced tech, creating a dazzling display that drew the attention of their pursuers. As the shuttle rocketed towards safety, Austin watched through the view screen as the brave Zarkali held off an entire army, buying them the time they needed to escape with the vital intelligence. The journey back to Nova Terra passed in a blur of medical treatments and debriefings. Austin drifted in and out of consciousness, always aware of Boron's presence at his side. When he finally awoke fully, he found himself in a hospital bed, the familiar skyline of Nova Terra visible through the window. Boron sat nearby, her scaled hand gently holding his. "Welcome back," she clicked softly. Austin managed a weak smile. "Did we make it? The intel?" Boron nodded. "We did. Thanks to you, and to the sacrifice of our Zarkali friends, Nova Terra is mounting a coordinated strike against the extremists as we speak." Austin closed his eyes, a mix of relief and sorrow washing over him. They had succeeded, but at a great cost. As he drifted back to sleep, his mind turned to the future they were fighting for, and the bonds forged in the crucible of this conflict. In the days that followed, as Austin recovered and the Allied forces dismantled the extremist threat, plans were set in motion for a grand ceremony. The newly terraformed planet, now christened Harmony, would be officially inaugurated and a historic treaty signed. Austin found himself at the center of these preparations, working closely with representatives from all three species to ensure the ceremony would be a true celebration of their hard-won alliance. As the day of the ceremony dawned, Austin stood before a mirror, adjusting his formal uniform. He caught sight of Boron's reflection as she entered the room, her own attire a blend of Gorn traditional wear and human styling. "Ready?" she asked, her translator conveying a mix of excitement and nervous energy. Austin took a deep breath, nodding. "Ready, let's make history."
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.